My name's Roy Arbon, and I'm an organic, or was an organic beekeeper. I was exporting honey to the USA in 2009, but it was stopped because of the drop of 1080. And as I say, in 2009, I was exporting under the Certens brand, which is Assure Quality, and the BioGrow decided that they weren't, that Assure Quality wasn't quite correct. BioGrow is the other certification in New Zealand, and the honey was being exported under the National Organic Program, of which beekeeping was not one of the one of the products. So they used the USDA standards for the export of the honey, and one of the USDA standards said it must be from wild managed land. Now, wild managed land had to be 3 k's from any chemical input, and the honey. And I was then asked to find two places from where wild managed land was, and that was, I found those 2 places, but the honey had been, the 1080 had been dropped 3 years beforehand, so that stopped my honey being exported to USA under the organic standards. So that means that market was completely finished, wiped out. And I found out last month, or 2 months ago, that there was no person testing for 1080 in New Zealand in honey. And I went to Assure Quality, I went to every laboratory, 5 laboratories in New Zealand, and there's no one testing for 1080 in honey apart from Landcare, and Landcare are a government-owned organisation, and can you trust them? That's it. Okay.
Yeah. Hello. I'm Jeff Patchett, known as Jack. I got the opportunity to farm up the top end of the Wairau, a farm called Mount Patriarch. I originally went to Patriarch in 1975 and helped the owner there, and with all the big jobs, and then I got the right to buy it in '98, which I did. In 1997, we had one of the biggest outbreaks of bovine tuberculosis in the top of the South Island. We had 33 reactives, and I was absolutely devastated. Being a cattle farmer, my wife and I were, we just didn't know what to do. Animal Health Board arrived, and they said, well, it's in the possums. You're going to have to do something about that, and the best thing you can do is 1080. We're planning on dropping a 1080 drop on 29,000 hectares in behind our farm, right down to Bartlett's Creek. Anyway, I was all for it. I said, look, if it gets rid of possums and my TB problem, yeah, go for it. Land on my lawn if you like. I can remember actually saying that to them. They said it targeted possums and everything else would be okay, and we didn't know anything about it. My mate had said it was a bad thing, but I didn't take much notice of him. He was a townie, and I didn't sort of take much notice of what he had to say. They come in and they did use the paddocks outside the house to fill the hoppers, and they worked for a couple of days and just absolutely. They say they don't like to hear you say blanket drop 1080. Well, this was blanket dropping 1080. There was a bait to every square metre, and one of their biggest baits. We thought, oh well, that's good. That's over and done with. Didn't think much of it. Wife and I would go for a walk around our little bit of forest block that we wouldn't let happen. Everything seemed to be okay. About 10 days later, we could actually smell the death up in the valley behind us, and met my neighbour. We went up and checked our water supply. There were 15 dead animals in there, including woodhen, deer and pigs. There were the dead birds, just blackbirds that I found first, but we found the 3 pet woodhens straight away. They were near the gate going into the neighbour's place. And then continuously for the next week or so we were dragging animals out. Animals were dying, secondary poisoning, and we thought, oh, this is absolutely terrible. What the hell have we done? Why did we ever let these bastards ever do this? Then we thought, what about our care? Christmas time, we would always have a traditional Christmas on the front lawn, and the day after Boxing Day or the day after that was always a walk to the top of the mountain, and basically to appreciate everything that we had. So we'd walk to Mount Patriarch, and we'd see care on the mountain. The most we'd ever counted was 23. That day, that was nearly 3 months after the drop. We couldn't count them. We couldn't count one. There was just no care, and we thought, oh well, maybe this is, they'd moved off or something. My son and I were up there again hunting. Months later, nothing. And then we'd heard that 1080 is particularly tough on care, so I went to DOC and told them. They admitted that there was a fair chance that they may have poisoned the colony, but I said, look, you've admitted to me, why can't you admit to the public? Tell people what's actually happened. You love to skite about your successes. Tell them about your failures as well. That's fair. All I could get out of them was there's a good chance that we did kill your cares. Well, not my cares, everybody's cares. It was one of the saddest days of my life when I realised that those cares were no longer on that mountain. They'd been there. The farm's 120 years old, and there's records, old books and things going back to a really strong colony of care on that mountain. And then for them to just kill them like that. 2004 they come back for another drop, and we were onto it this time. We said, look, you bastards have killed our cares. You've killed all our moor pork. South Island tomtit's completely gone. We're going to fight you tooth and nail. You're not coming anywhere near the place. We went to a commission. It was held in Blenheim. I put a submission in against it and told them what they'd done, but they just sat there with smirks on their faces, knowing full well that there's no proof. The commissioner, he said to me, you're too emotional, Mr. Patchett, come back with some science. Knowing full well that as a farmer I didn't have any science. Well, the only science I had was what I'd seen, what my family had seen and what my neighbours had seen. So they ended up getting their drop done, their 2004 drop done. The damage was already done at that stage, so there was nothing we could do about it. I've been fiercely anti-1080 ever since, and if there's anything to do with support for the anti-1080 people, I'm right there. My children are the same. They saw it. They've never got over it, and we just spread the word one by one. We're getting there, but I can actually feel a huge momentum behind it after this meeting today. We're going to beat these people. We're going to get 1080 banned.
A West Coast farmer says his livelihood is at risk after 1080 poison was dropped in a creek on his property. The farmer says he had an assurance that helicopters doing the drop would stay 500 metres away from his farm. Juliet Speedy reports.
Jim Ferguson is worried about his reputation as a beef producer. He says if foreign buyers find out that poison's been dropped in his waterways, they might refuse his product.
We're going to lose our markets, not only the beef market, the dairy market's in jeopardy too, in my book.
Ferguson says he was assured by the Animal Health Board that it not drop 1080 within 500 metres of his property and creek. But the poisonous pellets helping eradicate TB have appeared right where his family and stock get their water.
Not only does it supply our water, the stock water, it also supplies two neighbours.
Some neighbours have been helping him clean up the pellets.
If we get traces of this in the meat or the milk, there's our market's gone. And this is going, I'm sure this will happen with the amount of poison that's been dropped
The Animal Health Board says it's nearly impossible they drop the bait because the entire creek is in its exclusion zone and their flight paths prove this. It also says anti-1080 protesters have been deliberately moving signs like this from around the area, a dangerous criminal act rather than peaceful protest. Juliet Speedy, 3 News.